Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Echoplex Media. We talk about science and tech stuff, and we got news and just stuff we're interested in. I'm historian Matt. I usually talk about tech news and science news. Today I have a little bit of tech news and a little bit of science news. So my first topic is the Tesla semi ships. So that's been, people have been talking about that for a while, but it's finally out, at least one version of it. And then my second topic, which may be a little bit more interesting, is certainly more funny, but there now exists prescription poop. You heard that right. Prescription poop. So I'm going to go over to HK to introduce himself.
How's it going? I am HK Perrin, and I'm a software engineer, so I usually cover software engineering news. This week, the software engineering news has been pretty quiet. There was a new version of TypeScript and a new version of Angular, but they weren't really notable enough that I really want to cover them. So I'm just here to comment this week. And over you.
Yeah, I'm producer Dave. I am the producer of this and every show on Echoplex Media. And I have two stories. I have Facebook versus journalism and climate misinformation on the rise on Twitter. Sounds great. Fantastic. Take it away, Matt.
All right. Let me get my notes back up that I just lost. Okay. So the Tesla semi ship. So the semi tractor trailer from Tesla. So after 5 years, Tesla started delivering it. They introduced it, I think, back in 2017. I think they brought it out on stage back then, but it's been 5 years before they actually got something that they can deliver. The first delivery will go to PepsiCo. So Pepsi, the parent company of Pepsi, will be using them to carry stuff around. I think since then, though, Tesla has been using them to move stuff between their big factories. So like the one in Fremont to the one in Nevada. But some technical details. It has a new charger type, and I think plug as well, but it can be charged at up to 1 megawatt, which is really high. It can actually be charged pretty fast for considering, its size. It does have a very big battery and it still takes some time to charge, but with 1 megawatt, it's pretty impressive. Only Tesla's new supercharger can handle it though. So I think you can use it with other chargers, but only the supercharger is really fast enough at that speed for charging it. Not a whole lot is known about it, so we don't know how much the semi itself weighs, or how much it will cost, or even how much it can haul, or finally, when Tesla will actually ramp up production and start creating these in large numbers, so people can start buying them. But what we do know is Tesla did show a test run of the semi hauling between, I think it was between its Nevada and Fremont factories. I'm not positive on that, but it was carrying, it said it was 81,000 pounds, but that's not just the cargo, but that was the combination weight of the truck and cargo. And it was able to move it for 500 miles, which is pretty good for an electric semi. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be the future of moving goods and stuff across the U.S.?
I don't know. It can charge a megawatt. So how long does it take to fully charge?
I didn't have that in the article, but it's, it seemed like you still had to wait for it, but it would be like 10 or 20 minutes. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I'm interested. How much power also does it chug through while it's driving? What's the...
It takes a lot of power. And again, they didn't say, there was not a whole lot of details in that respect, like how much it's charging stuff, which is kind of surprising because they're already selling it to a big company.
Yeah, I would assume, if PepsiCo is buying it, then they've had to have done their research and figured out like whether it would be more profitable to use this instead of a gas semi, or maybe they're buying it for specifically areas where they can't have gas semis.
Right. Yeah. The big diesel semis are pretty polluting, and there's definitely some places where it's a big problem, like in Southern California. I think like the Port of LA or something. There's a big problem with pollution there because of all the diesel trucks going in and out, and it's, you know, they have a bit of a valley there, so it just kind of captures all of it and keeps all of that pollution in one place, and it's causing a lot of problems with the surrounding residents. And it sounded like as soon as there's enough electric trucks out there, California was going to ban diesels, at least in that area, which makes a lot of sense. But
yeah,
we're just not really at that point in time. The Tesla Semi is out finally, and it's, you know, they haven't ramped up production, but some companies are buying it. But there are apparently some other semi trucks that you can buy that are fully electric as well.
Yeah.
So this test that they did before, this is, I'm going to assume, under ideal conditions, right? So this 81,000 pounds for 500 miles on a single charge, I bet they weren't going uphill.
Well, I don't know, because they did show it in California. I think it was from Fremont to Nevada, which would be a pretty hilly drive. But it may have been to LA. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was started in Fremont anyways. But yeah, I think they went through some mountains. It wasn't totally flat. But remember, like, as long as they can get up the mountain, they're going to recharge their battery on the way down. It does have regenerative braking, and apparently, at least Elon Musk claimed that the regenerative braking is pretty aggressive, and he claims that you wouldn't have to ever replace the brake pads. I'm pretty sure that's false, but
did he also?
I can understand that it's used more.
Did he also claim greater than 100% efficiency?
I don't know. Apparently, there's some questions about the aerodynamics of the truck, because they claim aerodynamics that are pretty close to like a Bugatti, you know, and a lot of other truck operators don't think that's possible. So we'll see. It does look pretty sleek, but, you know, from what I understand about aerodynamics, it's like the front part of a vehicle is not nearly as important as the back part, because the back is where you have all the drag. But I don't know. I'm not a mechanical engineer or anything, aerodynamics engineer.
I will tell you, the thing looks ugly. It looks, I mean, it looks terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it looks about as ugly to me as most other trucks.
Yeah, I was going to say, there aren't a whole lot of really good looking semi trucks.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing with, you know, Pepsi just got one. We don't even know if they bought it. Was it given? Like, we don't know. Like, did they have an agreement to get the first one because it was like a cool thing, and that's why they have the first one? You know, there could be any number of reasons why they have it. They don't necessarily have to think it's, you know, that they're going to replace any significant part of their fleet with it. They must have just an unreal amount of trucks. So like just one of these things probably doesn't make any difference to them, actually. Like, even if it's a giant piece of crap, like you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really, it's not going to hurt their bottom line really to buy this truck.
Yeah.
And with how many routes they have, I'm sure they could put it on a route that it makes sense.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Well, I was going to say I think PepsiCo had pre-ordered like 100 of them, which I'm sure they have thousands of routes. So it's not like that's a huge amount, but it's a good, you know, good number of purchases from Tesla. And that's probably why they got one of the first ones.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if the steering wheels fall off.
It could be a good thing. It's good that we're getting away from diesel, but we'll see if Tesla's claims hold up.
Yep.
All right. As soon as I find my mouse, I'll go on to the next one. So this was a funny one, short topic here, but For the first time, the USDA granted approval for a feces-based microbial treatment. And I don't know if you've heard about this stuff before, but it's a treatment for, hopefully I'll be able to pronounce this correctly, but Clostridium difficile, or C. diff, as it's more commonly referred to. And it's a problem that a lot of people have where they basically have intestinal problems, and it has to do with their gut bacteria basically being out of whack. It's not entirely clear what the issue is. They know that there's like a certain bacteria that I think is overgrown in that case, and it's causing problems. And they know that using basically getting implants of other people's poop basically will fix it. So it restores the microbial communities in people's intestines. So this particular product is Rebiota, I think it's pronounced. I don't know. It was written. Anyways, it's basically a blend of stool, saline, and a laxative solution. I'm not sure why there's a laxative in there, but it's given in a single treatment as an enema. And it's from a donor stool that was heavily screened for other pathogens, so it should be fully safe. And looks like it's going to be helpful. So what do you guys think about that crazy treatment?
It's not new.
Good on the poop smiths for figuring that out. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, these kind of transplants aren't new. It's just that maybe that this particular treatment or whatever they're doing is new.
Well, I think the big deal is it's FDA, or not FDA. What is it? USDA approved.
USDA choice poop.
Yeah. The Drug Administration. Anyways, yeah. So it's the first approval from government, U.S. government, agency.
Like, I understand that, like, it sounds really gross, like the whole idea of a fecal transplant sounds really gross. But, if you're suffering with, chronic diarrhea or some other symptom like that, and this can help you, that's awesome. Even if it sounds gross, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. C. diff is a pretty bad, disease to have. I actually had two different friends that had it, and had a lot of problems. And one of them, I think he ended up doing this treatment. It's not 100% approved, but you can find places that will do it. Basically, now it's 100% approved with this particular company. Mm-hmm. And it kind of saved him, because the other option he had before trying it was, they were going to remove a good amount of his large intestine to fix it, which would have been, a huge problem. But the treatment that he got otherwise, the donor stool, worked pretty well, it seemed. So he hasn't had a problem since. So good on them. I was kind of surprised. I thought it would not get any kind of, acceptance from any government agencies until they figured out exactly what microbes were the important ones, to transplant. But I guess they didn't have to do that. Hopefully in the future, we'll figure out what those good microbes are. Yeah. There's just apparently like millions of different kinds. So it's really hard to filter out and figure out which ones are the good ones.
Yep. There's a lot of bugs in your poop. We got to figure out which bugs are the good ones so we can.
Yeah. Most of them seem to
take them out
good.
of other people's poop and put them into your poop.
Yeah. Most of them are either good or at least not bad. Right.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
Well, it looks like it's on to me here. First, we got Facebook threatens to ban news in the U.S. over journalism bill. This is something similar happened in Australia. It was kind of a big deal. What this, the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act, it would basically allow news outlets to negotiate with Facebook. and Twitter about the terms of having their content on these social media sites. And Facebook Meta's response to it is, well, we're actually doing a service for these news agencies by spreading their news articles around. And this is new. There's not a lot on it yet, and I didn't get a chance to read the act itself, but I think it's going to go nowhere. I think it's going to go nowhere. I don't think it's going to be put into law. But I will say that if Facebook and Twitter were forced to stop being news aggregators, that wouldn't be the worst thing we ever saw happen.
Yeah, I heard Facebook has also threatened to house the homeless and plant trees and feed the hungry. Yeah, it's like, cool. Could you please ban news on your platform, Facebook?
Right.
Like, that's one of the biggest problems with it.
Yeah.
Right. If people were just on there arguing about something else, that would be much better.
I'm kind of iffy on this. Not that Facebook should ban news. They really should, because the news on Facebook is always really bad. But the idea that somebody who's just posting links to articles and, having like the headline and a small blurb maybe under it, not like the whole article, like should they really be paying for that sort of stuff? I'm not sure about that, especially if they're linking to the original article. But I know this is like a whole thing that happened with Google. I think Europe did something like this, and I guess it all worked out. But I thought it actually passed in Europe before Australia.
I think it was search though, specifically for search, not on like social media. But I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
and I think the problem there was that Google was basically stealing part of the article and putting it on your search results, and that was not, people didn't like that. They were like, you're just stealing our article and like calling it your search result. And I tend to agree that that's bad.
So they were having like a little blurb, like I said, that Google was stealing a blurb of it to put on there, which I kind of feel is kind of iffy, except like, if the blurb basically has all the article in it, then it's definitely stealing. But they worked it out, because as far as I know, you can still search for stuff in Europe and you'll get articles.
Yep. So my next story is, of course, more Twitter news. It's just that climate change misinformation is on the upswing on Twitter in 2022. Not just after Elon took over the service, but it was just kind of on the upswing anyway. And I think that it might be, part of like larger trends with misinformation. And I think that maybe as more people got radicalized and contrarianism for its own sake became much more common among we'll call them the heterodox, as they call themselves, that it became easier to kind of sneak climate change denial in there. We're seeing climate change denial from some of the people we talk about on the intellectual Dollar Tree, and it's just kind of coming back, I guess. Or maybe it never went away, and we're just noticing it again. But I think it's quite bad. I don't think the platforms can stop it, but it's bad to see that it's on the upswing, especially with the projections getting worse and worse and worse and worse for the future as time goes on. I don't know. What do you two think about this?
Twitter is a cesspool.
Agreed.
It was a light cesspool before. Now it's a heavy cesspool.
Yeah. And I don't think Facebook does very much to tamp it down either. But the thing is, like, Facebook isn't where the journalists and wannabe journalists hang out. Those people hang out on Twitter.
Yeah.
And the very, very online people hang out on Twitter.
Those who haven't moved over to Mastodon.
I'm very sad to see what's happening to Twitter, but I think it ultimately will be a good thing if Twitter ceases to exist, or at least ceases to exist in any meaningful form.
Yeah.
because it's bad to have a single company with that much control.
Right.
Right.
And they don't have that many daily active users, but that's where all the journalists and celebrities hang out. And so it's like much more, it like punches over its weight as far as influence goes versus its like daily active user number.
Yeah. And they generate a lot of the content that's shared around the internet. You know, a lot of tweets appear on Reddit and Facebook and other sites. You know, a lot more than, like, say, Facebook posts.
Yeah, not for nothing on the news, you see it.
Yep.
Like on just regular news, you'll see stuff that's going on Twitter. Yeah, this is bad. But I don't, there's nothing, it's really funny because Elon Musk claims to be this climate change guy, right? But this is the last thing he's ever going to do anything about. He claims that his main interest in electric cars, or at least for a long time, his claim was that it was to battle climate change. I haven't heard a lot of that from him lately, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think pretty clearly it's always about money with him.
Right. And of course, ego. Like
his very fragile ego.
Like who's clapping back at him and how can he put a stop to it? Yeah, I just thought this was bad news, but I don't think, like I said, there's just nothing you can do. We're not going to be able to do anything about it. There's no point in arguing with climate change denialists. I think a lot of the people posting that stuff know that it's false. They just don't want to change their lifestyle. And so they think that maybe if they run around pretending that that it's not happening, that they can like tell themselves that they don't need to change their own behavior. But on the other hand, it's not like your or my behavior that's going to solve this. It's going to be decisive action by governments acting in coordination with one another. And that's certainly not on the horizon that I see.
Yeah, I mean, we're making slight progress in the right direction, but not nearly enough. And we I say slight progress, but actually we're still burning more coal and more oil every year, including this past year.
So slightly less unprogress is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like is the rate of increase slowing? Is that what we mean maybe when we say progress?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Although for some strange reason, 2020, we did quite well and actually reversed a lot of oil and gas use for some strange reason.
Yeah. If only it would be possible to know what sort of thing was going on that year.
Yeah.
It could have led to that. We'll never know.
The news ain't great. The tech news ain't great, but I don't know. At least somebody can get a poop transplant if they need it, I suppose.
That's right. If they need it.
Yep. Well, the poop news this week was great, but all the other news was much more shitty, surprisingly.
Well, since you didn't have a segment, HK, you get to read the show out this week.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. This is our tech show, How the Tech Are You? We try to put this show out every Wednesday, and if you're catching it on Wednesday, be sure to check us out on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media for Intellectual Dollar Tree. We have at Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific. We also have some other shows you can find on echoplexmedia.com, and we have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/Echoplex. So if you'd like to give us some money to support what we're doing, you can do that there. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.